The explosion tore through the hull of the Starweaver like a burning knife through soft metal. Commander Zexai felt the deck shake beneath his four-legged stance as another blast wave rolled through the ship. Emergency lights flashed red across the bridge, casting strange shadows on the faces of his crew. "Hull breach in Section 7, called out Communications Officer Tilavan, her voice tight with fear. "We're losing atmosphere fast." Zexai gripped the command rail with his long fingers, watching the tactical display show more red warning signs than he cared to count. The Kethmori pirates had caught them by surprise near the edge of the Valorian system. Been a routine patrol had turned into a nightmare. "Engineering report," he barked into his communicator. The voice of Kefron crackled back through static. "Sir, the main power core is damaged. I'm trying to reroute power, but we have plasma. Fires on 3 decks. We need more time." Time was something they did not have. Through the main viewing screen, Zexai could see the dark shapes of Kethmori attack ships moving closer. Their weapons glowed with deadly energy, ready to finish what they had started. "Captain." "Veltar to all ships," came the voice over the fleet communication channel. "Prepare for immediate jump to hyperspace. We cannot hold this position." Zexai felt his blood turn cold. "Captain, we need more time. My engineering team is trapped. In the lower sections, the blast doors sealed automatically when the fires started." "How many crew members are trapped?" Veltar asked. 5, including myself. We can get them out, but we need 10 minutes to cut through the doors." There was a long pause. Too long. Zexai knew what that silence meant before the captain spoke. Again, "Commander, the risk is too great. Kethmori ships will destroy the entire fleet if we stay." "I'm sorry, sir. These are good soldiers. They have families. We cannot leave them out. The needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few, Commander. That is the Valorian way. All ships prepare for jump in 60 seconds. Zexai stared at the communication panel in shock. Around him, the bridge crew worked frantically to keep the ship from falling apart, but he could see the defeat in their eyes. "They all knew what was coming," Sir Tilavan said quietly. "The evacuation pods in this section are damaged. Cannot reach the working ones in time." Young Manek Narasol looked up from where she was treating an injured crew member. "What does this mean?" Zexai closed his eyes for a moment. When he opened them, his voice was steady, despite the fear in his heart. "It means we are staying with the ship." The countdown continued over the fleet channel. 30 seconds to jump. Pilot Jexmar turned from his station. "Sir, I can try to get us to the escape pods. The corridors are full of smoke, but maybe we can make it." "The path is blocked by debris and plasma fires," Kefron's voice came through the communicator. "I tried to reach you, but the way is sealed. Emergency systems lock down everything to stop the fires from spreading." 20 seconds to jump. Zexai felt a strange calm settle over him. He had served in the Valorian fleet for 20 years. He had always believed that they would never abandon their own. He had been wrong. "All crew members, report to the sealed section of the bridge," he ordered. "We will make our final stand here." His small team gathered around him. Narasol was barely out of training, her green scales still bright with youth. Jexmar had served on 5 different ships and had never lost a battle until today. Tilavan had been with him for 8 years and knew his thoughts before he spoke them. From the lower decks, Kefron continued to work on the power systems, even though he knew it was hopeless. 10 seconds to jump. Through the viewing screen, they watched as the other Valorian ships began to glow with the blue light that meant they were charging their hyperspace drives. The Kethmori ships fired again, their weapons lighting up the darkness of space. 5 seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1. One moment they were there, and the next moment the Starweaver was alone in the dark with only the enemy ships for company. But something strange happened. The Kethmori ships did not move closer. They held their position and watched. After several minutes, they too jumped away, leaving nothing but wreckage and silence. "Why did they leave?" Narasol asked. "What?" Understood. We are no longer a threat. Our weapons are dead. Our engines are gone. We are just floating metal now. They have what they wanted." "What did they want?" To send a message to the Valorian fleet? To show that they could strike anywhere, anytime. Killing us now would serve no purpose. Tilavan worked at her communication station. I'm sending out a distress signal on all frequencies. Maybe another Valorian ship will come. No, Zexai said sadly. They will not risk more ships for 5 crew members. Captain Veltar made that very clear. Kefron's voice came through the communicator, weaker now. Sir, I've managed to get partial life support working in the sealed sections. We have maybe 3 days of air and power if we're careful. 3 days. Zexai looked around at his crew. It's 3 days to wait for a rescue that would never come. It's 3 days to think about families they would never see again. 3 days to face the cold silence of space. Then we make the best of those. 3 days, he said. We are Valorian soldiers who will face the end with honor. Outside the damaged hull of the Starweaver, the stars looked down on them with cold, distant light. In the vast emptiness of space, 5 voices called out for help. That would not come. The silence was complete. The first day passed like a slow nightmare. Commander Zexai watched the power levels drop on every screen around the bridge. The red emergency lights grew dimmer as the ship's failing systems tried to save what little energy remained. Tilavan sat at her communication station, sending the same distress message over and over again. Her voice had grown hoarse from repeating the same words in 3 different languages. This is Valorian, vessel Starweaver. 5 crew members trapped. Life support failing. Request immediate assistance. Only static answered her calls. Nearasol moved between the crew members, checking their condition with what little medical equipment she could find. The young medic tried to stay positive, but Zexai could see the worry in her large eyes. She had training, but no real experience with emergency medicine. How is Kefron? Zexai asked as she finished examining a cut on Jexmar's arm. Not good, she said quietly. The explosion threw him against a metal beam. I think he has internal bleeding, but I cannot tell how bad without proper equipment. He needs real medical care soon. Through the communicator, they could hear Kefron working in the engineering section. He grunted with pain every few minutes, but he never complained. The old engineer was trying to fix systems that could not be fixed, but it gave him something to do besides wait for death. Sir, Jexmar said from his pilot station, I've been thinking about our situation. Maybe we could use the emergency thrusters to move toward the shipping lanes. If we get lucky, a cargo ship might see us. Zexai shook his head. The thrusters were damaged in the attack. Even if they worked, we do not have enough power to move the ship more than a few hundred meters. Then we wait, Tilavan said. She had stopped sending the distress signal and was now just listening to the empty channels. We wait and hope. But hope was a hard thing to keep alive in the cold darkness of space. The second day was worse. Temperature inside the ship had dropped enough that they could see their breath. Zexai ordered everyone to stay close together to share body heat. They rationed their food and water, making each small meal last as long as possible. Kefron's voice over the communicator was weaker now. Sir, I've managed to boost the distress signal by about 20%. If there's anyone within 3 light years, they should be able to hear us. Good work, Zexai replied, though he knew it probably did not matter. 3 light years was still a vast distance, and the chances of another ship being that close were very small. Nearasol tried to keep everyone's spirits up by telling stories about her homeworld. She talked about the blue oceans and the tall crystal cities where she had grown up. She described the festivals where young Valorians would dance under 3 moons and sing songs that had been passed down for generations. My family has a small garden, she said, her voice soft in the dim light. We grow silver flowers that only bloom at night. My mother always said they were the most beautiful things in the universe because they chose to shine when everything else was dark. Tilavan smiled for the first time since the battle. I would like to see those flowers someday. You will? Nearasol said, though they all knew it was not true. Jexmar had been quiet most of the day, staring out at the stars through a small viewing port. Finally, he spoke. I've been in the fleet for 15 years. I've seen a lot of battles, but I never thought it would end like this. How did you think it would end? Zexai asked. In glorious combat, I suppose. Fighting the enemy, protecting our people. not floating in the dark, waiting for our air to run out. There is no shame in how we are dying, Sci-Fi said. We stayed at our posts. We did our duty. That is what matters. But even as he spoke the words, he felt anger burning in his chest. Anger at Captain Veltar for abandoning them. Anger at the Valorian command for teaching them that some lives were worth more than others. Anger at himself for believing in a system that would leave good soldiers to die alone. The third day began with bad news. Kefron's voice came through the communicator, but it was so weak they could barely hear him. "Sir," he whispered, "the life support is failing faster than I calculated. We have maybe 6 hours of air left, not the full day I promised." Sci-Fi closed his eyes. 6 hours. He looked around at his crew, these good people who had served with honor and deserved so much better than this cold death. "Should I keep sending the distress signal?" Tilavan asked. "Yes," Sci-Fi said, "till the very end." Nearasol was sitting beside the communication station, holding the hand of an injured crew member who was unconscious. She looked very young in the failing light. "Too young to die like this, Commander," she said. "I want to record a message for my family. Will you help me, of course?" One by one, they all recorded final messages. Words of love for families they would never see again. Apologies for missions they would never complete. Promises to wait for their loved ones in whatever came after. Death, Sai, was the last to record his message. He spoke to his mate and his 3 children, telling them he was proud to be their father, and that they should remember him as someone who never gave up hope. As he finished speaking, Tilavan suddenly sat up straight at her station. She pressed her headphones closer to her ears and adjusted several controls. "Sir," she said, her voice filled with confusion, "I'm picking up something strange." "What kind of something?" "Response to our distress signal? But it's not in any language I recognize." Sci-Fi moved to her station. Through the static, he could hear faint sounds that might have been a voice. The patterns were unlike anything in the Valorian database. "Are you sure it's a response?" he asked. "Yes, sir. The signal is definitely directed at us," and it started. "Right after our last distress call, someone is out there and they're trying to talk to us." For the first time in 3 days, Sci-Fi felt something that might have been hope stirring in his chest. Someone had heard them. Someone was coming. But who could it be in this empty part of space? Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the Liberty's Edge, staring at the strange readings on his screens. His ship had been exploring the outer edges of known space for 6 months, mapping star systems that no human had ever seen before. "Captain," called Science Officer Dr. Lisa Hayes from her station, "I'm picking up what looks like a distress signal. It's very faint, but definitely artificial." Morrison walked over to her console. The Liberty's Edge was humanity's newest deep space exploration vessel, packed with the most advanced technology Earth could build. But even with their powerful sensors, the signal was barely detectable. "How far away?" he asked. "About 2 lidars. The signal is weak because whatever is sending it doesn't have much power left." Chief Engineer Matt Johnson looked up from his station. "Sir, if something is in distress out there, we're probably the only ship within days of travel that could help." Morrison nodded. As an exploration vessel, they were alone in this part of space. The nearest human outpost was weeks away, and they had no idea if any other species had ships in the area.
"Dr. Hayes, can you tell what kind of ship it is?" "No."
"Sir, the signal pattern doesn't match anything in our database. It's definitely not human, and it's not like anything we learned about from the deep space probes." Security Chief Alex Turner stepped forward. "Captain, this could be a trap. We don't know who else is out here or what their intentions might be." Morrison considered this. First contact with an alien species was always dangerous. Earth's governments had spent years preparing protocols for such meetings, but all the planning in the world could not predict what would really happen when humans met beings from another world. "Dr. Sullivan," he called to Medical Officer Dr. Kate Sullivan, "what's your opinion?" "If someone is sending a distress signal, they need help," she said simply. "That's all I need to know." Morrison smiled. That was exactly what he had hoped. She would say, "Mr. Rivera, can you get a better read on that signal?" Communications specialist Tony Rivera had been working quietly at his station since they first detected the transmission. "Sir, I've been analyzing the signal pattern. It's definitely a distress call, but the language is completely unknown." However, there are some mathematical sequences mixed in that suggest intelligence. What kind of sequences? Prime numbers, sir? Then some basic equations. Someone is trying to establish that they're intelligent beings capable of logical thought. Morrison felt his heart rate increase. This was it. This was the moment humanity had been preparing for since they first reached for the stars. First contact with another intelligent species. Set course for the signal source, he ordered. Maximum speed. The Liberty's Edge turned and accelerated toward the distant signal. As they got closer, their sensors began to pick up more details. Captain Dr. Hayes called out, "I'm reading massive debris in the area. It looks like there was a battle. The signal is coming from what's left of a large vessel." On the main screen, they could see the wreckage of the alien ship. It was unlike anything humans had ever imagined. The hull was smooth and curved, with technology that seemed both advanced and completely foreign. "Life signs?" Morrison asked. "Faint, but yes. I'm reading 5 life forms aboard the wreckage. Their life support appears to be failing. How long do they have?"
Dr. Hayes
Checked her readings again. "Based on the power levels I'm detecting, maybe 2 hours at most." Morrison felt the weight of command settle on his shoulders. Whatever decision he made in the next few minutes would echo through history. Humanity's first meeting with aliens would be remembered forever. Sir Turner said quietly, "We don't know anything about these beings. They could be hostile. They could carry diseases that would kill us all. Protocol says we should observe from a distance and contact Earth for instructions." Protocol also says we don't let people die when we can save them, Dr. Sullivan added. Morrison looked around his bridge at the faces of his crew. These were good people, the best Earth had to offer. They had volunteered for a mission that would take them far from home, knowing they might never return. They had signed up to represent humanity among the stars. "Mr. Rivera," he said, "can you establish communication with the alien ship?" "I'm trying, sir. I've been sending mathematical sequences like the ones they used, but I'm not getting much response. Their communication system seems to be badly damaged." "Keep trying, Dr. Hayes. Full sensor sweep of their ship. I want to know everything we can learn about them before we make contact." "Sir." The next 30 minutes were tense as the crew worked to learn about the aliens. The sensor readings showed that the beings were roughly humanoid, but clearly not human. Their ship was damaged beyond repair, and their life support was failing rapidly. Captain Rivera called out excitedly, "I'm getting a response. They're trying to communicate." On the communication screen, a series of numbers appeared, then shapes, then what looked like crude drawings. "They're trying to show us their situation," Dr. Hayes said, studying the images. "That looks like a diagram of their ship. These marks might represent crew members." More images appeared. The aliens were clearly trying to communicate that they were injured and trapped. "Sir," Rivera said, "I think I can establish basic communication. They're using pictures and numbers to tell us they need help." Morrison made his decision. "All hands. This is the captain. We are about to attempt the rescue of alien survivors. This is a historic moment for humanity. We will conduct ourselves with honor and courage. Mr. Johnson, prepare the shuttle bay. Dr. Sullivan, get ready to treat unknown life forms. Turner security teams on standby, but remember, these beings need our help." He paused, looking at each member of his crew. "Today we show the universe what humanity stands for. We don't abandon people in need, no matter who they are or where they come from." Lieutenant Commander Sam Foster gripped the controls of his shuttle as he guided it through the twisted metal wreckage of the alien ship. Chunks of debris floated past his window like deadly snowflakes, each piece capable of tearing through his shuttle's hull. "Easy does it, Sam," came Captain Morrison's voice through the communication system. "Take your time. Copy that, Captain," Foster replied, sweat beading on his forehead despite the cool air in the shuttle. "But we need to move fast. The alien ship's reactor is showing some nasty readings on our sensors." Behind him, Dr. Kate Sullivan checked her medical equipment one more time. She had no idea what kind of injuries she might find or how to treat alien biology, but she was determined to try. "Dr. Sullivan," came the voice of Dr. Hayes from the Liberty's Edge. I am sending you what we've learned about their physical structure. They appear to breathe a similar atmosphere to humans, but their blood chemistry is different. How different? Sullivan asked. Their blood is blue instead of red, and it carries oxygen using copper instead of iron. Other than that, they seem to have hearts, lungs, and other organs in roughly the same place as we do. Sullivan nodded, already thinking about how to adapt her human medical training to alien physiology. It was like being asked to perform surgery on a creature she had only seen in science fiction movies. Chief Engineer Matt Johnson sat next to her, carrying a bag full of tools and equipment. His job was to figure out how to connect human life, support systems to alien technology. It seemed impossible, but Johnson had built his reputation on solving impossible problems. Sam, you're getting close to the hull breach? Morrison's voice crackled through the communication system. Radiation levels are spiking. You need to be fast. Foster could see the hole in the alien ship's hull ahead of him. The edges of the breach glowed with residual energy from whatever weapon had caused the damage. His shuttle's computer was beeping warnings about radiation exposure, but he ignored them. I can see inside the ship, he reported. There's a chamber that looks intact. I'm going to try to dock with it. The docking procedure was like trying to thread a needle while riding a roller coaster.
Ow!
The alien ship was slowly spinning, and debris kept floating between Foster's shuttle and the hull. Twice he had to pull back to avoid collision with chunks of twisted metal. Got it, he finally said as the docking clamps engaged, or attached. Opening the airlock now, the first thing they noticed when they entered the alien ship was the smell. It was not unpleasant, just different. Like ozone mixed with something floral. The atmosphere is breathable, Johnson reported, checking his instruments. A little thin, but our oxygen masks should handle it. They moved through the damaged corridor, following the life signs that Dr. Hayes was tracking from the Liberties. Edge. Emergency lighting cast eerie shadows on the walls, and they could hear the distant sound of failing machinery. This way, Sullivan said, checking her medical scanner. I'm reading 5 life forms in the next chamber. When they reached the sealed section of the alien bridge, they found the survivors huddled together in the dim light. The aliens were roughly humanoid, but clearly not human. They had elongated limbs, large eyes, and skin that seemed to shimmer with different colors. One of the aliens, who seemed to be their leader, stepped forward. He was tall and moved with dignity, despite his obvious injuries. When he spoke, the words were musical, but completely incomprehensible. Don't worry, Sullivan said, pulling out her medical scanner. We're here to help. The alien leader seemed to understand her tone, if not her words. He pointed to one of his crew members who was lying on the floor, clearly in bad condition. That must be the one with internal injuries, Sullivan said to Johnson. Help me get him ready for transport. Johnson was already working on the life support problem. The alien systems were completely different from human technology, but the basic principles were the same. Air, power, and environmental control. I think I can jury-rig a connection, he said, pulling cables from his equipment bag. Give me 5 minutes. Those 5 minutes felt like hours. Through the hole, they could hear the alien ship's reactor, making increasingly unstable sounds. Sparks flew from damaged control panels, and the deck shuddered under their feet. Sam Morrison's voice came through their communicators. The reactor readings are getting worse. You need to get out of there soon. It's almost done, Captain, Johnson replied, making the final connections. There, I've got emergency life support connected to their system. Should buy us more time. Sullivan had been working on the injured alien with tools adapted for human medicine. The creature's biology was strange, but similar enough that she could understand the basic problems: internal bleeding, broken bones, and shock. I've stabilized him, she said, but he needs real medical treatment. We need to get him to our ship. The alien leader spoke again, this time pointing to all of his crew members and then to the humans. His meaning was clear. He wanted all of them to come. We're not leaving anyone behind, Sullivan told him, though she knew he could not understand. Her words. That's not what humans do. The evacuation was a race against time. They had to move 5 injured aliens through a damaged ship while the reactor grew more unstable by the minute. Foster made 3 trips with his shuttle, each time, threading through the expanding debris field as more pieces of the ship broke away. Last trip, he reported as he loaded the final 2 aliens, including their leader. The reactor is showing critical readings. We need to go now. As Foster's shuttle pulled away from the alien ship, the reactor finally reached the breaking point. The explosion lit up space like a new star, sending shock waves through the debris field. Foster fought to keep his shuttle steady as the blast wave hit them. "Everyone hold on," he shouted. The shuttle bucked and rolled, its hull groaning under the stress. Warning lights flashed on every panel, and the artificial gravity flickered. For a moment, it seemed like they might not make it. Then they were. Clear, racing back toward the Liberty's edge with their precious cargo of alien survivors. Commander Sci opened his eyes slowly, feeling strange and confused. The last thing he remembered was the explosion that destroyed his ship. Now he was lying on a soft surface in a room filled with gentle light. "Easy there," came a voice beside him. "You're safe now." Sci turned his head and saw a creature unlike any he had ever encountered. The being had pale skin, short dark hair, and small eyes that seemed filled with kindness. This must be one of the mysterious rescuers. Dr. Kate Sullivan smiled at the alien commander. "I'm Dr. Sullivan. You're aboard our ship, the Liberty's Edge. You've been unconscious for 2 days while we worked on your injuries." Sci tried to speak, but only strange sounds came out. The human doctor seemed to understand his confusion. "Don't worry about the language barrier," she said. "Our communication specialist has been working on that problem. Tony, can you come?" "Here, please." A young human with bright eyes entered the medical bay carrying a small device. "Commander Sci," he said slowly, "this is Tony Rivera. I have been studying your language." To Zex's amazement, the words came out in perfect Valorian. The human's accent was strange, but the meaning was clear. "How do you know my name?" Sci asked. "How do you speak my language?" "We learned from your ship's computer before it was destroyed," Tony explained. "We downloaded your language files and personal records. We wanted to be able to talk with you when you woke up." Sci struggled to sit up, his mind racing with questions. "My crew, are they alive?" "All of them," Dr. Sullivan said with a smile. "Kefron was badly injured, but he's recovering well. The others have minor injuries that should heal completely." "Where are they?" "Neurosol is helping in our medical bay. She's very curious about human medicine. Tilavan is working with our communication team to improve the translation system. Jexmar is in our shuttle bay, very interested in our ships. And Kefron, resting but awake. Would you like to see him?" Dr. Sullivan led Sci through the corridors of the human ship. Everything was clean and bright, very different from the dark military vessels he was used to. Human crew members they passed smiled and nodded politely, showing no fear of the alien walking among them. In the recovery room, Kefron was sitting up in bed talking animatedly with Chief Engineer Matt Johnson. The 2 engineers had somehow managed to communicate despite the language barrier, using drawings and gestures to share technical knowledge. Commander Kefron said when he saw Sci, "You must see what these humans have accomplished. Their technology is incredible. They use principles I have never seen before." And Matt Johnson grinned. "Your friend here is pretty smart too. He's been teaching me about your power systems. Very elegant design." Tony translated the conversation, and Sci found himself amazed once again. These humans were not just rescuers. They were curious, eager to learn, and willing to share their own knowledge freely. "I need to speak with your captain," Sci said. "There are things he must know." They found Captain Morrison on the bridge, studying star charts with his senior officers. When Sci entered, the captain stood and extended his hand in what Tony explained was a human gesture of greeting. Commander Sci Morrison said, "I'm glad to see you're feeling better. I'm Captain Jake Morrison." Captain Morrison Sci replied, accepting the handshake, "I owe you and your crew a debt that can never be repaid. You risked your lives for complete strangers?" Morrison looked puzzled. "We did what anyone would do. You needed help." "No," Sci said firmly. "You did what humans would do. What you did is almost unknown in our galaxy." He spent the next hour explaining the political situation to the human crew. He told them about the war between the Valorian Confederation and the Kethmori Empire. He described how most species in the galaxy operated on principles of cold calculation. where the weak were abandoned and only the strong survived. Your own captain left us to die, Sci said, his voice heavy with pain. He made the logical choice according to our military doctrine. The needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few. That's horrible, Dr. Sullivan said. But is practical? Sci replied. Or so we always believed. But you have shown us a different way. Captain Morrison leaned forward. Commander, can you tell us more about this war? Are there other species involved? Sci nodded. Many species are caught between the Valorians and the Kethmori. Most try to stay neutral, but neutrality becomes harder each year. The Kethmori expand their territory constantly, enslaving weaker species or destroying them entirely. And the Valorians. We fight to defend our territory and our allies, but we follow the old ways. We calculate the cost of every battle, every life. If the price is too high, we retreat. Security Chief Turner spoke up. What happened to you and your crew? Was that normal? Fortunately, yes. In war, some must be sacrificed for the greater good. That is the law of survival in our galaxy. Dr. Hayes looked at her star charts. Commander, are there other species that might be more like humans in their thinking? I have never encountered any. Zex said what you did for us. Rescuing strangers at great risk to yourselves, it goes against everything most species believe about survival. Tony had been translating parts of the conversation for Neurosol, who had joined them on the bridge. The young medic spoke up in her musical voice. She says Tony translated that humans remind her of the silver flowers from her home world. The ones that choose to shine when everything else is dark. Captain Morrison smiled. That's a beautiful way to put it. Sci studied the human captain's face. Captain Morrison, your species is new to space travel, correct? Very new? You're actually the first aliens we've ever met. Then you do not understand the danger you face. The galaxy is not a kind place. The strong prey on the weak, and mercy is seen as weakness. Maybe it's time for that to change, Morrison said quietly. Sci felt something he had not experienced in years. Hope. These humans. With their strange ideas about helping others and their refusal to abandon the weak, might actually be able to make a difference. Captain, he said, I would like to make a proposal. Let me help you contact my government. It is time the Valorian Confederation met humanity properly. Morrison nodded. I think that's a very good idea, Commander. It's time we introduced ourselves to the galaxy. Captain Jake Morrison stood in the main conference room of the Liberty's Edge, looking at the tactical display that Commander Sci had helped them create. Red markers showed Kethmori pirate bases scattered across several star systems. These were the raiders who attacked merchant ships and left crews to die in space. The main base is here, Sci said, pointing to an asteroid field on the display. The pirates use it to repair their ships and plan new attacks. Valorian Command has known about it for months, but they say the cost of attacking it would be too high. How many ships? Asked Security Chief Turner. Perhaps 20 combat vessels, plus support craft. They also hold prisoners from their raids, including civilians. Dr. Sullivan frowned. Prisoners? What do they do with them? Kethmori use them as slaves, Sci said sadly, or worse. The pirates care nothing for the laws of war. Morrison felt anger burning in his chest. Everything he had learned about the Kethmori made him hate them more. They were bullies who preyed on the weak and innocent. Commander Morrison said, what would happen if someone did attack this base? It would send a message throughout this part of the galaxy. It would show that the pirates are not untouchable. But as I said, the cost would be very high. What if the cost could be reduced? Sci looked puzzled. How? Morrison smiled. What if we had help from people who think differently about warfare? 3 days later, the Liberty's Edge dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the asteroid field, where the pirates had their base. The human ship's advanced stealth systems made it nearly invisible to enemy sensors. Reading multiple contacts, Dr. Hayes reported from her science station, looks like Sci was right. About 20 ships, mostly fighters and light cruisers. Any sign they've detected us? Morrison asked. Negative, sir. The stealth system is working perfectly. On the bridge, Sci watched the humans work with amazement. In just 3 days, they had planned an operation that Valorian Command had declared impossible. Their approach was completely different from anything he had ever seen. "Captain," said Tony Rivera from the communication station, "I'm picking up transmissions from the asteroid base. Some of them are distress calls. Prisoners calling for help." "Yes, sir." "Multiple languages." "I count at least 30 different voices." Morrison's jaw tightened. 30 innocent people being held by pirates who would kill them without hesitation. Mr. Foster Morrison called to his pilot, "Take us in, nice and quiet." The Liberty's Edge moved through the asteroid field like a ghost, using the rocks for cover as they approached the pirate base. The base itself was built inside a hollowed-out asteroid with docking bays carved into the rock face. "Weapons range in 30 seconds, Turner reported. "Remember," Morrison said to his crew, "we're not here to destroy everything. We want to disable their ships and free the prisoners, minimum casualties." Zexai shook his head. "Captain, you cannot show mercy to the Kethmori. They will see it as weakness and use it against you." "We'll see about that," Morrison replied. The attack began with surgical precision. The Liberty's Edge used targeted energy bursts to disable the pirate ship's engines and weapons systems. Instead of destroying the vessels, they left them floating helplessly in space. The pirates responded with confusion and panic. They had never faced an enemy who attacked with such restraint. Their communications filled with angry demands to know who was attacking them and why they were not being destroyed. "Pirate base, this is Captain Morrison of the human vessel Liberties. Edge Morrison broadcast on all frequencies. You are holding innocent prisoners. Release them immediately and surrender your ships." The response was exactly what Zexai had expected. Curses, threats, and demands that the humans come fight like warriors instead of cowards. "They will never surrender," Zexai said. "The Kethmori do not understand mercy." "Then we'll have to teach them," Morrison replied. What followed was unlike any battle the galaxy had ever seen. Instead of destroying the pirate ships, human boarding parties captured them one by one. The pirates who surrendered were treated as prisoners of war and given medical care. Those who continued to fight were defeated but not killed. Chief Engineer Johnson led a team that cut through the asteroid base's defenses using tools designed for rescue operations rather than warfare. When they reached the prisoner-holding areas, they found beings from a dozen different species, all weak from months or years of captivity. Dr. Sullivan and her medical team worked frantically to treat the rescued prisoners. Many were injured, all were malnourished, but they were alive and free. The most shocking moment came when the pirate commander, a brutal Kethmori warrior named Vexter, was brought before Captain Morrison. The alien expected to be executed. According to the harsh laws of galactic warfare, instead, Morrison offered him medical treatment for his injuries and a chance to contact his government about prisoner exchange. "You are weak," Vexter snarled through the translator. "You had the chance to destroy us, but you chose mercy. This weakness will be your downfall." "Maybe," Morrison said calmly. "But at least we'll be able to sleep at night." Of the battle sent shockwaves throughout the local star systems. Word spread quickly that an unknown species had defeated the feared Kethmori. Pirates without destroying a single ship or killing a single prisoner. Some species dismissed it as impossible. Others wondered if these mysterious humans might be powerful allies. A few began to hope that the old brutal ways of the galaxy might finally be changing. 3 weeks later, Commander Zexai stood on the bridge of the Liberty's Edge as they approached a Valorian space station. He was returning home, but everything had changed. "Incoming transmission," Tony Rivera announced. "It's from the Valorian High Command." On the main screen, the image of Admiral Kethfer appeared. Zexai had never seen his superior look so confused. "Commander Zexai," the Admiral said, "your report about these humans is difficult to believe. Species that risk their lives for strangers? Warriors who show mercy to enemies? Such things go against everything we know about survival." "With respect, Admiral," Zexai replied, "perhaps what we know about survival is wrong." Behind him, Captain Morrison stepped into view of the communication screen. Admiral Morrison said, "I'm Captain Jake Morrison, representing humanity. We'd like to discuss a new kind of alliance." one based on protecting the innocent rather than just protecting ourselves. Admiral Kethver stared at the human captain for a long moment. Finally, he spoke. Captain Morrison, I think the Valorian Confederation would very much like to meet your people. When can you come to our capital world? Morrison smiled. We're on our way. As the Liberty's Edge changed course toward the heart of Valorian space, Zexai felt hope growing in his chest. These humans had shown the galaxy something it had forgotten, that true strength came not from abandoning others, but from refusing to abandon anyone at all. The Age of Mercy was about to begin.